I am here with the founder of Chainlink. I said Chainlink, Chainlink Digital Strategy and the Digital Wealth Network. This man has amassed millions of views and dozens of clients for his AI consulting business. One of the GOATs in the AI space. It's a privilege to have you on again, my brother. Pablo, what's going on, my dude? How you
Thank-
feeling? How you living?
Happy to be here, brother. Thank you for having me. Excited for another great conversation as per usual, man. Love what you got going on, man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm blessed. Growing the Nexus, the AI Hub page, just trying to put people on game like yourself within this
Yes.
next industrial revolution. Because a lot of people finna get left behind, unfortunately. But we here for the real ones that see the value in what we have to say. So I'm doing good, bro. I'm too
Yes.
blessed to be stressed. You feel me?
Happy to hear. Let's get into it. I'm excited, man.
So, being the founder of Chainlink Digital Strategy and the Digital Wealth Network, just give us some updated, some insider insight on just the morale of people when it comes to AI, whether it be, your clients,
Hmm.
your inner circle, friends, or fam. Like, what's like the morale going on these days?
Yeah. AI, probably the most powerful technology we've ever seen or had access to through the masses in the history of humanity. And so,
Mhm.
um, in general, it is what you make of it, right? So in my inner circle, we're all making it work for us. We're trying to implement it into our business. A lot of what my day-to-day conversation is about. So people around me are excited.
Okay.
The people, because they have information on how to make it work for them, but the uninformed, unfortunately, are victims to, you know, negative information and the fear mongering that happens a lot, right? And um, so the people outside of my circle and who are just kind of letting AI run wild, like they're being subjected to a lot of like the negative news stories and things like
Yeah.
that. So it is what you make of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are seeing a lot more institutional adoption with AI, which is again, it's controversial, right? We're
Mhm.
seeing companies like Amazon or IBM or Meta who have no shortage of cash, but they're laying off tens of thousands of people in replace for investing in their AI programs, right? And
Yeah.
so if you are a worker, I used to work in tech. Um,
Mhm.
I still am in tech, to be honest, but they're getting replaced by AI. And so it's tough for them. They have a negative view on AI for the most part. But for people who are still able to maintain their jobs, and who are proactive, it
Mhm.
can be seen as a good thing. So, long story short, mixed opinions. It's controversial.
Yeah.
It's controversial. Yeah.
Nah, I feel you on that, bro. I actually just watched, I don't know if you've seen it, Ex Machina last night for the
Oh,
first time.
for
And
the first time.
yeah, after watching that movie, bro, like I just think it's time for me to shut down, my AI consulting business, bro, because I understand the people's fear. I understand why people are scared of the Terminator, but no, on a serious note, man, like I said, like we talked about this like several times. You gotta focus on the now and the things that are in front of you, because like you said, a lot of people are in fear, right? And people fear change. We talked about this on the last podcast as well, but it's happening whether you fear it or not. So you have to be aware of what's really going on, and you just have to be ready to adapt and just be ready to learn at the end of the day. So, um, me and you, we try our best every day showing up in the AI space and just trying to help educate people because there's enough fear mongering going on. There's enough fear mongering going on, but it's people like us that's gonna really help people get ahead. And the people that really see the value in what we see and what we say, they won't get left behind. Everybody else will get left behind.
That's it. That's it.
So you're not just a man of the people in the AI space. You're actually a man of the people in the real streets, the streets of the Toronto. You're not just in the TikTok digital streets. You're out here documenting humanity. And like I just gotta salute you for that because like not a lot of people are all over the place like you. Like you all over the place. So I just want to know what's the most interesting takeaway that you've seen when it comes to humanity, just being out there on the field that we haven't seen on the cameras.
Yeah, you know what? And just to give some context to that point, so I just started vlogging my day to day random interactions out here in Toronto.
Hmm.
Um, Spending more time, having like in person meetings with people, but also just in my day to day like leisure, I'm vlogging stuff, right? And so I have a whole separate
Okay.
page for that, which is gaining some traction. And so my most interesting takeaway, and I'm actually flying over to the DR in like 2 weeks, the Dominican Republic, staying there for a bit over a month. So I'm going to
Okay.
really be doing more of that. But my most interesting takeaway, um, hmm, you know what? People, okay, got it.
Hmm.
So part of why I started doing that is because I spent so much time between my last corporate job um, to the Chainlink Digital Strategy and the Digital Wealth Network. Everything I've been doing is off of a laptop, so I've never had to go outside to make money. Really, it's all just
Yeah.
been like this over digital meetings. And so I started going outside because I'm like, you know what? That's something I feel like is a skill, like to build and manage in-person relationships and also speak to
Yeah.
strangers. And you also skip the line by doing that, right? Metaphorically
Yeah.
speaking, like you build trust a lot faster when you get on the phone and when you meet people in person. And I'm like, that is a lost art. Let me go out and do this and
Oh,
just speak to strangers and get their, you know, just their take on whatever's going on. Just literally ask them how they're doing today or just compliment them, right? And see what
yeah.
comes of this. And so my biggest takeaway is number one, it's a lost art.
Man.
You develop trust. Like I as many conversations as I have on camera with strangers, um, I have more of them off camera, right?
Hmm.
Um, and just going for a walk, just speaking to people. And so I've met a ton of like, I'm spending a lot of time in Yorkville, which is one of the wealthiest areas in Toronto. And I've met a
Okay.
ton of owners of the different businesses around there. Just because I'm saying, hey, you got some nice shoes on. Like, tell me about, what you got going on, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lost art. Number two, people are actually very open to having conversations with strangers, believe it or not. You just got to come into it in the right way. You know what I mean? Like either ask for help or just dish out a compliment or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just people are open to talking, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be very surprised as to how small of a world it is. Like you're probably
Yeah.
meeting a mutual connection more often than not. In a city as big as Toronto, which is like it's a half New York City pretty much, which is still big. Like you'd be surprised how small the world is. So those two things, it's a lost art, or those three things. It's no, those two things. It's a lost art, and people are a lot more open to having conversations than you think with strangers. So you should do it. You know, I think it should be a habit people take on to speak to one stranger in every
Yeah.
outing. You know,
Mm.
and just give them the time of day. Whether it's a person who looks well put together or whether it's someone who's looking like they're
Hmm.
having a hard time or maybe they're homeless, just say, hey, hope you have a great day. How's your day going? Whatever it is, you'd be very surprised to see what comes of that. And in my case, I've gotten a lot of content out of it. But as I said, I don't record most of it.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see people say I do it for clout. I really don't. But content speaking, yeah, like I've done fairly well. You know what I mean?
People
Um,
saying that
so
you're
yeah,
going outside for clout, man. I've heard it all, man. You're going outside for clout, and
yeah,
oh my
it's
god,
okay.
it's hilarious, bro.
Or it's like people will be like, people say anything at this point, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm surprised this guy really stood there recording this whole interaction. I'm like, well, you watched the whole video. You watched the entire thing, did you not? so, so, right. Two sides
Oh
of the
man.
same coin, man.
You know what's like
Yeah.
crazy to me, bro? And you touched on it. You said going outside is a lost art, and that's sad, but it's true
Yeah.
as hell. It's so sad
Yeah.
because like we've talked about this before. Like you know, with everything going on in AI space and like not even the AI space, but the digital era that we're in, like people are stuck and so glued to the algorithms. And like, you know, people like us back in the day, like our parents forced us to go outside and play. That's not happening today. You tell a kid to go
No.
outside today, they're gonna like they might do some crazy stuff to
Yeah.
you. Like, you know, it's some
Like it,
crazy stuff going
like it's
on
a
in the world.
chore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's one of the most scariest things, like that I think that we're seeing, like, you know, in humanity, to be honest. Like the fact that we can't go outside and just be kind to people. The fact that we can't go outside and strike a random conversation with a stranger you've never met. I never would have thought that's a lost art, but you're documenting it and you're showing that, you know, people like miss that kind of stuff. And like I didn't think we were too far off and away from that. But, you know,
Yeah.
just this era that we're living in, like people don't talk to people because we're all like we're just glued to our phones like right here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
transitioning to that, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Um, with your previous ties to Apple, you know how they move and you know how they operate. So I just want to hear your insider perspective and give us your thoughts on, you know, their leaked Apple GPT concept. They're calling it Ajax, and just their place like in the whole AI wars that's currently going on.
Apple has an automatic leg up because of their ecosystem of devices, right?
Hmm.
In every household, you're probably going to find at least one Apple device. My
Yeah.
guess, right? People like they, okay. So all of these different apps take your information. TikTok, WhatsApp,
Yep.
uh, Google Calendar, Google Drive, like they all take in your information to some extent that we all know,
Hmm.
but they all, in some way, shape, or form, have to report analytics to the host device, like the iPhone, right? Analytics, whether it's screen time,
Hmm.
whether it's battery usage, like the very simple things, or it could
Yeah.
be down to um, like when you download an app, right? And I'm getting somewhere with this. But when you download an app like TikTok, right? There will be a prompt that your iPhone gives you where it's like,
Mm.
do you want to share the analytics with your host network or whatever? Like it'll be some kind of prompt.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
quote it,
That's
but
true. Yeah.
point is like, or do you want to share? Do you want to share analytics with the other devices on this network? Like there's some prompt like that, right?
Yeah.
That happens every time you download an app. So point being, like all these apps collect your information, but they all report to the host device, which is the iPhone. Same thing with
Hmm.
all the stuff that's on your laptop. Same thing with the Apple Watch, right? So
Hmm.
Apple has this stronghold of an ecosystem of devices. That's a weird way of putting it, but like,
It's
so they
true.
have a leg up on data, on the data game, right? And so AI is only as good as the input of data that it's
Yeah.
given, right? And it's only as because that data that it's being fed helps shape the algorithm and helps refine and improve the algorithm over time. So it's not how good the algorithm is as much as it is the data it's being fed and the rate of data, the different types of data, so on and
Mhm.
so forth, right?
Yeah.
So you are having, um, I say all that to say, you have the most refined data, the most diverse data being fed into Apple's Ajax AI
Yeah.
algorithm. When you type in, when you go to YouTube and you type stuff in, like, yeah, YouTube's recording that and Google's recording that to some degree, but also your host device, your iPhone
Hmm.
is recording that, right?
Yeah.
So Apple has like it's getting pieces of all these different things, right? How long you're staying on phone calls, like how who you're texting and from where, from what geographical, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like TikTok is not really privy to who you're texting.
No.
I hope not.
Yeah. We don't.
YouTube
Yeah.
is not privy to who you're calling, but your
Hmm.
iPhone is.
Oh
You
yeah.
see what I mean? The
Mm.
whole Siri is listening to you at all times. Like
Oh yeah.
so Apple's AI will now have that as a data stream, right? So
Yeah.
traditional data streams chat like Chat GPT, Google Bard, they did not have unless you have a Samsung phone or whatever it is, like they did not have access to the level of access that Apple will have to you.
Yeah.
Google is probably the
True.
closest competitor, right?
Mm,
Because Google is
okay.
everywhere. Um, Google knows when you sleep, Google knows when you're awake, but so does Siri,
Yeah.
you know. So I think all in all, to answer your question simply, it's a data game, and very few companies have the degree of data that Apple does, right?
Mm,
So that's on the back end, but on the front end, like that's the input, but on the output, their AI gets to be present everywhere. They get to have
yeah.
many versions of Chat GPT pop up on your phone or on your computer
Yeah.
or on your Apple Watch, right? Like imagine like a little Siri, but an AI version, right? Where it's
Mm.
not as stupid. Like it's
Yeah.
it doesn't take as long to think about where the closest ice cream store is, right? Like it's
Yeah.
automatic and it's also present on every device. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very useful, but it's also going to be like very invasive, to say the least.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I would say, and I'm pretty sure you agree with this, 99.9% of people in the world, you don't read the terms and conditions. So I honestly feel like Apple has so much data